35 years ago, I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
I'm a proud capitalist.
35 years ago, I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
I'm a proud capitalist.
35 years ago, I said,
I'm a proud capitalist.
35 years ago, I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and
I'm a proud capitalist.
35 years ago, I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
I'm a proud capitalist.
35 years ago, I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
I'm a proud capitalist.
Damn.
Nobody likes you.
By the way, as I said, I'm James and he's Matt.
Hello.
The very real sense that there is a preordained failure to this country as it stood for 250 plus years or however long it's been is really sort of teetering on the edge right now. Between the fact that the two-party system is imploding upon itself, fucking yay, as long as that results in something viable for other. And I thought about this the other day too. My ADD is going all over the fucking place. Is that other countries I think Italy is a good example. There are other countries that run multiple parties that they also engage in power sharing within their parliamentary structure. But it isn't unheard of in places other than dictatorships like North Korea and Iran and China and the UK and the US. I think that's the exclusive club where there is either one preordained party that is going to control the economy, the country, and people's lives, or there's only a choice between two. And that has a limited lifespan. And I am, for one, happy to see that we are about to implode upon ourselves for the choices that we've made to remain as such.
Yeah, I would be happy to see that go away too, but I'm not as optimistic as you are that it's actually going to. The money is all still flowing between just the two parties. There's nobody until we get the corporate money out and let all the money in politics be determined by the $2,500 maximum that anyone can donate. There's no way there's going to be viable other parties. I just don't see it.
Are you aware of any bills that have been proposed in the last, 25 years that have proposed to do that, to break that power structure that lies within the money that flows to these two parties and limits that and rolls?
I'm not aware of any, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were some, but I know they didn't pass. They didn't happen. And then we had that the Citizens United Supreme Court decision, which put unlimited money into politics and made it worse than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And all that unlimited money only goes between the two parties. So that's why it's hard to get a third. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says we have a two-party system. That's something that has developed over time just by limiting where the money goes. And I mean, there are other parties, just they're not funded. They can't compete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I'm aware of how like some European countries have the parliamentary structure where there's lots of parties, and then they only elect essentially the House, but the Parliament they call them, but they elect them, and then they pick between themselves who the prime minister is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Like
they have to get a coalition together and get a prime minister out there. So I don't know if I mean, our system wouldn't be bad if there weren't certain things in place that make it bad, like all the corporate money in politics and the stupid decisions the Supreme Court has made over the years. Not just this current wacky Supreme Court, but there's been lots of dumb, like Citizens United was a terrible decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we need to, I don't know. I would love to change our entire system. I don't see how that's going to happen. I just don't. The people with the money have all the power. I don't know if you've probably seen. I've seen it a few times. I think I saw it on YouTube originally, but I saw it more recently on TikTok. But it's a video this guy does where he shows a graph of what the people want versus what the politicians vote for,
Oh yeah.
and how it doesn't matter. What the people want matters not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And I mean, the original video is pretty old, but I saw it very recently on TikTok. But I remember seeing it years ago. But yeah, doesn't matter at all.
But the part of that sort of gets tangled up in itself is that implies that the process that they're asking us to engage in through voting, just that alone, is more of an illusion than we want it to be. It is less useful than they're leading us to believe it is, because of the fact that what we need and what we want is far out of line with where our elected officials are going to position themselves. However, when you look at how much money any candidate puts into campaigning, and they're not campaigning to corporations. Yes, they're having conversations with corporations and lobbies and so forth, and getting massive amounts of funding through those conversations, but they are putting a massive amounts of money into campaigning for votes. And that reminds me that the necessity of voting is so coveted by those people that are seeking positions of power, that we need to take it with the same level of importance, because apparently there is great power in voting. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending millions upon millions of dollars, trying to get your vote. So this flies in the face of the people, and I've been guilty of this before. When I start spiraling downward of saying, yeah, your vote doesn't count, it doesn't, and in a lot of ways it doesn't in the federal system, because of the Electoral College and gerrymandering and all this other bullshit that goes on. Yes, that makes your vote matter less. But the fact is that politicians spend vast amounts of money trying to get your vote. And as long as that's a reality, that means that there's a modicum of power that we have as individuals to influence the direction things go. Now, when you realize that, and then you come back to looking at the lay of the land, the people that are voting are some of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life. The shit that people are believing, the shit that people are following, the trash that people are supporting, scares the hell out of me. And there is that is probably what the politicians covet more than anything. It's just raw numbers. It isn't about educated people voting. It isn't about people actually expressing their will through their vote. And in fact, this election cycle is not going to be about people expressing their will through their vote, because you look at your two fucking presidential candidates. Again, just talking about the presidential race. I am willing to guess that there is a significant number of Democrats who are going to vote for Joe Biden. This isn't about how it was in 2020, where you're really going to make me vote for Joe Biden. It's gone way past that, I think, for a lot of people, to the point where if they pull that lever for Biden, it is with a massive amount of disdain. And that's significant, I think.
Yeah. Do you see any other candidates in the wings that you would feel happy to vote for? Because I don't really. I know in 2028 they're going to put up Gavin Newsom, and I guess I like him. I don't know that much about him. I like him better than Biden, but I don't love him. He's still a capitalist. By the way, Biden tweeted today, "I'm a capitalist." He tweeted it. Yeah, you're also a war criminal.
Other candidates in terms of somebody for the Democratic Party?
Yeah, or anyone. They don't have to be a Democrat. Anything.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna play the game according to the game's current rules, they kind of do have to be a Democrat. Um,
Like that guy, that the Young Turks.
oh,
The guy in the Young
Cenk
Turks.
Uyghur. Yeah, Cenk Uyghur.
He's I like his messaging. He doesn't have a shot in hell, but the stuff he's said, I like. I'd vote for him probably.
He's running, right?
Yeah, he's running, but he does. I mean,
Under what flag?
I don't know. I guess I assumed he was in the Democratic primary, but I don't know.
Hold on, I'm gonna check. Anybody in the live know what Cenk is running as?
But I saw him do an interview, and I liked the stuff he said.
Yeah, I've liked him for a long time. I've been watching the Young Turks for I can't even tell you how long. Yeah, he is as a Democrat. Holy shit. He definitely has a level of recognition. I think more people know. And again, Claudia de la Cruz is not running as a Democrat, but more people know who Cenk is just by virtue of his Young Turks fame, and that's a big factor in how these things develop momentum, is just name recognition.
Yeah, well, if he shows up on my primary ballot, I think I'd vote for him. But I don't even. I mean, usually by the time it gets to Pennsylvania, there's no point. The primary's done. There's only one candidate to vote for at that point. So that's another thing. Why do we let just a handful of the states decide who the candidates are in the primaries? That's dumb too. Why aren't the primaries all on the same day so that everybody can vote for who they want?
I've heard that proposed before. I don't see that there's ever been any momentum toward making that happen. But that's another dynamic that makes a significant number of people feel like their vote has less power than somebody else's vote, and that, I think, it's a real.
It's like our system bends over backwards to let the smallest number of people have the most power. It's so dumb.
Yeah. But didn't
and then you end up with a large amount of people that feel oppressed or angry or disconnected from the process. I mean, it's set up that way.
I think, well, something you just said there, I think, is important, because that is the exact phrase that I remember hearing when Trump gained momentum back in 2015, 2016, was people feeling disconnected from the process. And I think there's a lot of agreement that that is what was the most potent fuel behind his demagoguery rising to the top, was that he appealed to a group of people who have felt disconnected from the process, that they are those people who their vote really didn't matter and they weren't being represented and so on and so forth. So they glommed on to this misogynist buffoon and accepted his demagoguery and ran with it. I mean, we're at the same place today. I don't know. Personally, this is anecdotal, but back in 2015, 2016, when Hillary was the heir apparent, I don't remember too many people who called themselves Democrats complaining that they felt disconnected from the process. There was never the same sort of angst coming from Democrats in 2016, 2015, that was the angst that gave Trump his momentum at that time. The irony of it is that there are no fewer Democrats as voters who were just as disconnected from the process, just as disenfranchised from the process as there were Republicans then. And it's the same today. We are all equally.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't remember hearing about Democrats feeling disconnected, but voter turnout shows. I mean, the same percentage of Democrats don't vote as anyone else. I mean, our voter turnout is pathetic. Even in 2020, which was the best voter turnout we've had in decades, it was still pathetic.
What was the number back then? Do you remember?
I don't know, but it wasn't 90%.
Oh shit! No, it's never been 90%.
That's what it should be. If people aren't feeling disconnected, that's what it should be. If people feel like their vote matters, that's what voter turnout should be. And we're never even close to that. Hell, if you just talk to people, random people, like at a bar or something, half of them will have no idea what's even going on.
True.
They don't even know. I swear there's people that don't even know elections are happening half the time. And I mean big elections. I mean, people definitely don't show up for the off-year elections like this year. But I swear there's people that don't even know there's a presidential election happening when there is one.
Mm-hmm. I'm showing what the voter turnout was in 2020. It just blipped on my screen, but 54%.
Yeah, 54%. I mean, it's usually like 40 or less. So that's better.
Oh, wait a second. Census.gov says the 2020 presidential election had the highest voter turnout of the 21st century, with 66.8% of citizens 18 years and older voting. It should be. I mean, if that's the highest, then as you pointed out, what the numbers were in cycles previous were just abysmal.
All right, listen to this. 2022 in the Sweden, voter turnout 84%.
Holy shit.
Germany, 2021, 76%. North Korea, 100%.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, our participation in the democratic process is pretty pathetic in the United States. And it's directly because people think their vote doesn't matter. And
well, hold on a second. I think there is an element of that, but I think there is a larger element of why voter turnout is so low is just lack of education. We, as you look at the way that the voter turnout records read, I think that translates directly to how we perform in terms of education when compared to these other countries in the world too. I'll give you an example. I was watching a podcast today, and I can't even remember who the hell it was, but they were from New Zealand, and there was a panel of two people talking about how New Zealand avoided austerity at some point recently, where they were having financial struggles and how they recovered from it. And the people on this panel agreed that it was the education that they received in what amounts to high school about macro and microeconomics in high school. We don't teach any of this shit. We don't teach civics to the degree that other countries do. We don't inspire our young people to become involved in the political process with an idea that they have a level of power to exercise in that arena. We don't do it. Other countries do.
Like when I was in high school, we had it was the civics and economics, where you did one semester of civics and one semester of economics, maybe your junior year or something. That was it.
Oh wait, I got somebody in TikTok saying in New Hampshire the DNC took Biden off the primary ballot back in January, in the coming January, right? I remember hearing that the DNC was also going to take away first in the country status from New Hampshire. That it was going to it's going to go somewhere else. That's all. There's nothing about that has anything to do with improving the primary process. It has to do with just politics and favors. But
right. I mean, to improve the primary process, you need all the states voting together. That's the way I see it. I don't think I've ever voted in a primary where there wasn't already only one candidate to vote for. I don't think I ever have. I voted in New York and Pennsylvania and Georgia. They all vote late.
So I wonder and my friend in TikTok is going to tell me, I assume, on what basis did they remove Biden from the primary ballot? It can't. I don't know. That was it just his popularity, or what the hell was the reason? Let me Google that shit too. Wasn't successful in unseating New Hampshire from first. Oh, so New Hampshire is still going to be first in nation, according to PBS. But it says It says President Biden wasn't successful in unseating New Hampshire from first in nation. Primary slot is held for more than a century, but his decision added a new wrinkle.
Yeah, so Biden decided not to be on the ballot. They didn't remove him.
The move is the latest development in a long-simmering dispute within the Democratic Party over which states and regions should have the first say in determining the party's presidential nominees every 4 years. Iowa and New Hampshire have traditionally kicked. Biden, who placed fifth in New Hampshire in 2020, fifth, urged Democratic Party officials last year to, boy, that's an awful word, rejigger the primary calendar. That's what it says. The primary calendar with South Carolina in the leadoff position. His 29-point win in South Carolina is the reason he wants it that way. Yeah, this all speaks to the fact that, oh, fuck you, I'm a communist socialist. Yeah, there's somebody all capsing in my TikTok about damn communist socialist pieces of Democrats. Get the fuck out of my TikTok.
You know what the funny thing is? That guy wants the same thing we want. He wants a better life for him and his family, right? It's just he's been conditioned to blame socialism for his ills. We're doing a mukbang today, huh?
I'm fucking starving.
And he's never bothered to look into what is actually wrong. He just believes it.
Yeah,
he believes. The problem is the immigrants. The problem is the socialists. The problem is, whatever the Republicans tell him.
Yeah.
The problem is that's what he believes.
That is by definition demagoguery. He is the recipient and the willing participant in that demagoguery. Yeah, he doesn't know the definition of the words. Correct. That it comes back to the education level in this country. The absolute ignorance of the average person. And so here we are.
Speaking of education, I'm going to tell a little story. This is a local story. Erie County, Pennsylvania. So recently, our 2024 budget had the county council, which is Democrat controlled, put forth the 2024 budget for the county commissioner to sign. The county commissioner is a Republican. And one thing the county council put in the budget was $1.4 million for the lawyers, the court-appointed lawyers, right? The little coalition of lawyers that provide defense for poor people.
Mm-hmm.
And they took that money from the American Rescue Fund, the money that the federal dollars that the county got. They put all of that in the budget to the lawyers. Well, the county commissioner, he's not really wrong, but he said, if we do that, that's a one-time funding thing, and then next year they won't have that money again. So that shouldn't be where that money goes. It should come from the general fund so that we can do it every year. So in his veto of that portion of the budget, he decided to turn down the American Rescue Fund dollars, but he's still going to give money to the lawyers by taking it away from the library. So that's his plan. Now, it's likely that his veto is going to get overridden, but still, that's the Republican thing. We got to cut education or anything about education wherever we can.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he wanted to defund the library instead of taking money, federal dollars that were available. So
Par for the course. All right. So should we move on to a new topic?
yeah, let's move on.
You had something in there about money markets.
Now, okay, so this is about propaganda and how the media runs with it. All right, so the little article that I have linked, it's about retail theft. You've probably heard, people, you've seen it on TV where they're saying, "Oh, our costs have gone up because theft is out of control," right? And they're talking about closing stores and all this stuff. And this was all based on a report from a lobbying group that represents retail companies, who put out a report that said half of their shrinkage being, product that disappears for whatever reason. It's not always theft. It's stuff that gets damaged or lost or, errors in the computer. It's all called shrink. And they said half of the shrinkage was from organized theft rings. Okay, that's what they said. $47 million out of $94 million of total shrink in 2021. Well, someone in the media just ran with that. They took that report and they ran with it, and you've probably seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone at MSN dug into those numbers. They're complete bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Completely made up. So there was $94 million of shrink in 2021. But the $47 million of shrink being from theft was not from 2021. That was the total amount of shrink in 2015. They just took that number from 2015, changed it to be theft, and inserted it into their report about 2021. Just completely made it up. And the media just ran with it. So there are millions of people that today believe that theft is out of control and it's hurting retail stores, and that's why prices are high. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah, because I see where it says on December 4th, the Federation acknowledged that its estimate was a fabrication, and it updated its report to remove the estimate. But by that time, the damage had already been done.
Right.
Yeah, we've been hearing that trope for since before, around the time of the pandemic, I thought, where people were saying, "Oh yeah, Walmart's closing in these neighborhoods because theft is so rampant," and blah 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 blah. And it was all false narrative.
Yep, it's all just completely made up. So, yeah, that's what you get when the media is owned by corporations, and the corporations want that narrative put out. They'll run with it. Like, if journalism was a thing, you're supposed to confirm your stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just take what some lobbyist group says and then run it.
Mm-hmm.
But, journalism exists in local newspapers still, I think. It doesn't really exist in the television media anymore. They just report what they're told to report. They're reporters, not journalists.
Well, I mean, that brings me to a side conversation that I had, and I made a post about this a few days ago. I had a former coworker of mine hit me up the other morning with at 7:30 in the morning, the most bigoted fucking joke. He called it a joke that I'd ever seen. And as soon as the first message came in from him, I just responded with, "Nope, I'm not fucking doing this. Who do you think you're talking to?" And he went on to tell the whole joke. And his premise was basically that people of color are the problem in this country, and they need to be rounded up, incarcerated, locked up, and eliminated. And he just fucking went off about this with nothing precipitating it. And when I pushed him for evidence to back up his claims, he said, "Well, I saw it on TV. I saw it on CNN. I saw it on MSNBC. I saw it on Fox News and CBS." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. You mean the mainstream media, the ones that you guys have labeled as fake news?" And he wouldn't respond. He didn't say anything. And I said, "Man, you don't get to embrace the narrative pushed to you by the mainstream media when you like what it says, and then call it fake news when you disagree with what it says. I mean, that is Trump 101. The 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 rampant nature of misinformation and absolute deception in information has been I think the biggest component in the past 6 years of how rapidly we've declined. I mean, when COVID came out, the misinformation was, and a post on Twitter. I'm gonna call it fucking Twitter. I'm not calling it any fucking thing else. On Twitter showed up in my feed today with some batshit crazy woman running this old story about how people are dropping. They're still saying this. People are dropping dead that got the COVID vaccine. Mystery cause of death, and they're doing it with all the slick production of a full-fledged fucking media source. And if 3/4 of your brain were not functioning, you would look at this and be like, "Wow, that looks legitimate." And this is what we've fallen into. Is this? It only takes a few moments of a piece of gross misinformation that ties directly into people's desire for demagoguery for it to become viral and spread everywhere and create real consequences for real people. I mean, look at bring this over to Giuliani's recent $145 million judgment for destroying the lives of these two women. I saw Giuliani's I think Giuliani's only statements after this occurred was, "It was my choice not to testify. It was my choice not to participate in discovery." You know why it was your choice, you fucking Nosferatu wannabe? It's because if you participated in those things, you would have perjured yourself. You would have lied through your teeth and committed perjury, and you'd be in jail right now. That's why you didn't participate in testifying or in discovery. But
How about Giuliani's lawyer's haircut?
Holy fuck! What the hell was that? I kept looking at that thinking somebody photoshopped that shit. That's not that guy's hair. It turns out it is. Holy
Yeah.
Oh. But 145 million, he doesn't have $1.45 to his name, and he's never going to be able to pay that. But he will never see an income in his life again because, yeah, this is going to go to Court of Appeals or whatever it is, but it's going to get upheld, and any money that he makes is going to go rightfully to these two women that he maligned and destroyed. Fuck him. God, I can't stand him. Fucking gross.
Yeah, he is. All right, what else we got? We got. I don't know if you want to do. When do you want to do Israel? Do you want to talk about Musk first, or?
Yeah.
Let's talk. You know,
No, go
let's
ahead.
do the staffer last. That's a
Yeah.
little bit light. Let's do that last. Let's do
Yeah,
Israel now.
Look.
Israel, then Russia.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna bring the Israel thing back to what you were saying about the media and journalism and so forth. The reason that public opinion has been so powerful in condemning Israel and their actions in Gaza is in no way to be attributed to any effort put forth by the mainstream media. There has been no mainstream media presence in.
It's because people in Gaza have cell phones.
Yes.
And social media accounts.
Yep, that's exactly it. I mean, most
we see what's going on.
Yep.
And we realize how terrible it is. We wouldn't even know if you only paid attention to what the mainstream media was telling you. You would have no idea some of the things that Israel is doing. You just wouldn't know because they're not reporting any of it. But social media is affecting things because Biden is now indicating, I don't know. The article I read said that he was, wanting to stop, the indiscriminate killing of civilians or whatever. But the quotes I saw from him were much milder. It was just like, we want them to be more careful. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Well, there are meetings happening with AIPAC, I'm sure, on the daily, where anything that any government official proposes to say about the situation in Gaza is being vetted by AIPAC. It is being filtered through AIPAC. So there's never going to be. I was surprised. Bernie Sanders was in lockstep with the Zionist agenda when this all started, and I think it's fairly recently that I saw him walking down the hall in Congress where he's actually using language now that is harsher and stronger. And I'm not giving him any credit because fuck this. He had his chance. I mean, it's no surprise where he stood with this, but his language is now much more pointed and closer to honestly describing what's going on the ground there. But I think all of this is. Didn't Time Magazine appoint fucking Taylor Swift as Person of the Year? Is that accurate, or do we don't know that yet?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't have anything against Taylor Swift, but these journalists, Bisan and Motaz, and these other journalists in Gaza, all deserve to collectively be the Person of the Year. There's no question about that. There was also, and I saw lots of clips of this guy over the past few days, the Palestinian grandfather who was talking about his granddaughter being killed by Israel, small child. And he has become something of an icon for the Palestinian resistance. I can't remember his name. Somebody in TikTok will remind me. But he has, by other people's description, displayed a level of resolve and commitment and stalwartness for peace. And he displays a sense of peace in the face of the destroyed life of his granddaughter. And he's also somebody who should be collectively in the Person of the Year category for being the person he is. And maybe I don't know if that whole, and I'm putting way too much importance behind who Time thinks Person of the Year is, but it's a reflection of what we should think is important in our culture. And unfortunately,
Yeah, well, I mean, being the Time Person of the Year isn't necessarily. I mean, people definitely think it is like an honorific title, but really, it's the person who had the most impact on the news in the year. That's what it's supposed to be. I mean, Hitler was Person of the Year twice, and he wasn't being honored. It was just because he had such a great impact on the world.
mm-hmm.
Not a great meaning good, great meaning large.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take that metric alone, that sort of disqualifies a lot of other people from who ought to be considered for this. But the people who have had a tremendous impact on the world have been these journalists on the ground, these social media
Yeah, I don't
on the ground.
I don't disagree at all. That would have been a better
100%.
choice.
Yeah, they need to be recognized. But yeah,
Other things out of Israel, they killed some of their own. They killed some of their own hostages in Gaza. Israel did. Three Israeli hostages in Gaza were trying to be saved by the IDF. They were waving a white flag, trying to identify themselves as, someone deserved not to be killed. But I have no doubt in my mind that those IDF soldiers saw that white flag and said, "Those are Palestinians just trying to not be killed, so we better kill them," because that's what they did.
yeah.
So. And then there was the vote in the House to put it in the congressional record that criticizing Israel is anti-Semitism.
Oh yeah.
Only one person voted against it.
Who was
one,
it?
And it was a Republican, Thomas Massey, libertarian guy. He's the only one that voted against it. Every single Democrat voted for it. All the other Republicans voted for it.
Yeah, it's that is completely symbolic though. There's
Right.
No,
I mean, that's AIPAC at work again, though.
oh yeah, of course.
but it's also it's not true. It's simply not true.
Yeah. Well, that
Um,
that reminds me also of another Israeli situation that has been getting misrepresented on the fucking daily. I see more posts about this that are so grossly incorrect and I correct them every fucking time I see them. But there has been a lot of hubbub about the anti-Israeli boycott act that exists in a number of states in the country and is recognized by the federal government. That act has nothing whatsoever to do with individual people boycotting Israel or Israeli products. It's only corporations that hold federal or state contracts that agree not to, on a corporate level, participate in boycotts against Israel. That is where that begins and ends.
Right.
People are conflating this into a thing that it is not, where they're saying it's because they're making it illegal for me to boycott Israel. No, they're not. Nothing like that exists. And people are, I'm going to chalk it up to just laziness, people not reading the act and knowing what it actually affects. But it's a runaway train with people just pushing misinformation about this. It's now illegal for you to boycott Israel. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Stop saying it.
other Israel news: Puma, the athletic brand Puma, they have withdrawn. They make uniforms for Israeli national teams, and they have
No,
ceased. They have decided to cease doing that.
I hadn't heard. I didn't even know Puma still existed.
If you want to sort of, I don't know what the opposite of a boycott is, but if you want to do that, buy Puma.
There you go. I need some new shoes. I may be doing that soon.
All right, what do you got on Russia? I don't know.
No,
much about...
the only thing that stood out to me with Russia, the fact that first of all that we're still that Ukraine is still fighting Russia in Ukraine is crazy to me. This is I put credence to the fact that Russia went in with like a 30 to 90-day agenda of Kyiv toppling and so forth. And we're now what 3 years into this? 2 years into this?
2 years. It'll be 2 years in January, I think.
2 years. There was a statement made by Putin over the past few days where he just reaffirmed that Russia is staying the course with the war in Ukraine. And that came on the heels of Republicans in Congress obfuscating and interfering with getting aid to Ukraine passed. So there again, the Republican Party is providing aid and comfort to a dictator, as is their playbook, 100%.
I'm surprised that Russia is still able to fight, because I read this week that they lost 87% of the soldiers they had the day they invaded. Like, I know they've done fairly enormous conscriptions across the country to increase their, to replace all those soldiers, but that's incredible.
Yeah, and the level of armament and technology that we are supplying and have been supplying to Ukraine for the past several months has been the stuff that was on the absolutely no fucking way list 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. This was stuff that wouldn't even be considered. And the trope that was always trotted out when people said, give Ukraine the F-16s, give them, the Bradleys, give them the howitzers and so forth. And Biden would always say, do you want me to start World War III? And well, apparently that hasn't fucking happened. All this, and I remember all this fucking World War III bullshit that was being pandered around. None of that came to pass. And I think this has been an incremental process for us to see, okay, what can we give them, and what's Putin's response going to be? Putin's response is nothing. There's no response to this. He throws more meat into the grinder is all he does. But yeah, I'm shocked.
Well, the fear was that Putin would use nuclear weapons, which he hasn't yet, but it's still possible. Although I think it's unlikely, because I think we talked about this before on one of our earlier episodes. Putin can't just launch nukes. There's other people in the process. They all have to agree to start World War III. And it's happened in the past where other like during the Cold War, other Soviets a couple times chose not to push the button.
Yeah.
And I think that would happen again. I mean, that's a huge weight on your shoulders to launch a nuke. So even if Putin wants to, I feel like there will be people in the chain that won't do it.
I think if he ever edges close enough to that where he's seriously considering that, the first thing that you're going to see a massive elimination of people that are in that chain of command. He's going to remove people from those links, because if he makes the decision that this is what needs to happen, he is going to make sure that everybody that's in that process along every step of the way is 100%.
Like Trump did in the Pentagon.
Oh,
in
yeah.
days of the presidency.
100%, just like Trump did. No fucking joke. So that's my Russia thing. That Russia leads me to Musk because they're both disgusting. I thought it was hilarious that Musk's Cruella de Vil mother came out and basically defended her son because Biden, I guess Biden made a comment about Musk or made some decision about not allowing him certain access to something. And she took great offense to this, and she made a tweet that basically looked like mommy is defending her inbred little boy. But it was comical to me. And Musk he's a turd. And all of his Teslas are getting recalled.
Yeah.
Every fucking one of them. I love it.
Yeah. Just for a software upgrade because, I don't know, the autopilot will kill you or something. But that's another funny thing. I don't know if you watched the new movie on Netflix with Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke.
With the scene where all the Teslas go haywire?
Yeah, so Musk saw that and thought that was a good thing. That was that the fact that all the Teslas got hacked and crashed into each other was a good thing, because I don't remember what his argument was. But he's like, "Oh yeah, there's Tesla." Oh, because it was just because they were still working when the world went to shit. I don't know, but he's such an idiot.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm probably going to download it tonight and watch it. It definitely looks interesting. By the way, on movies, have you seen the trailer for the new World War or a Civil War movie?
Yes.
All the I'm seeing MAGA lives all over TikTok with them jerking off talking about this movie, and it's fucking embarrassing. But I get the sense that they they get their ass handed to them by the motherland. But we shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. The only thing I'm confused about, and I'm wondering how they're going to set up that Texas and California have joined forces to start the Civil War.
It wasn't just Texas and California. I thought Florida was in that too. There was. Yeah. They have these names for these little cliques like the Florida Collective and shit like this. But yeah, I'm hoping it goes into some detail about how this plays out, because they'd have to establish their own currency. They've got to. There's all sorts of shit that nobody's prepared to do. I can't imagine even how they, what level of suspension of disbelief are we going to have to employ to make this believable at all?
Right, but I'm just curious narratively how they're going to explain how did that happen. Because I don't know, the trailer doesn't tell you why. I think it's 19 states secede, and that's what prompts the events in the movie. But what was going on that caused that, especially the fact that it put certain states together that don't really go together in my mind. But
yeah, not just do a Red Dawn, a version of Red Dawn, and make it just a.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, I'm not talking to you.
A shoot up movie. Have you ever seen? It was a series on. Fuck, what was it on? The Man in the High Castle was the name of the series. They had a couple of seasons.
Yeah, I saw. I think I watched season 1, maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's as far as I
didn't watch all of it, but I watched some of it like years ago. It's pretty old, right? Yeah.
It's it's got to be 7 or 8 years now. But that did a really good job of explaining what it was what it was positioning itself as in terms of how it was that the outcome of the war turned into what it was, and how Japan, ran the West United States and Germany ran the East. It did a good job of that. So this is a movie, not a series, so they don't have as much room to maneuver. But yeah, we'll see. I'm bummed because I thought for sure that the second installation of Dune was supposed to come out in November of this year, and it turns out I was fucking wrong. It's not until March or something.
Yeah, everything got moved back because of the strike. It probably was November.
Oh, that's right. That fucked it up. God damn it.
Yeah.
All
All right, so we had a Democratic staffer with some poor judgment.
Yeah, hold on. I want to look at this. Democrat staffer. Porno. Porn scandal. Boy, they name him even. His name is Cock Danglin. No, it's Ben Cardin. Boy, that actually sounds familiar. Graphic 8-second video of the Hart Senate office building sex scene was published Friday evening by right-wing outlet Daily Caller. Of course it was published by a right-wing outlet because it was a Democrat staffer that did it, which said the tape had circulated in private group chats.
Yeah.
Oh, Cardin is the Democrat representative. The person that made the video was Aiden Mace Zeropsky. Yeah, it's just it is what it is, man.
I just love how the staffer, when he was fired, he just said, "Oh, I had poor judgment." That's not poor judgment, man. That is so far beyond poor judgment.
Oh my god. Yes. What kind of name is that? That's not his real name. I was kidding. Yeah, so that's all we've got on the agenda for this week, I think. I think we've run the gamut.
Yeah, since we got people in the live, can we ask them to help us with the asshole of the week?
Yeah, come up with we'll do this again next week. Yes, next week. Get out of my pizza, dog. Come up with the worst person in the last 7 days. I will start the live like an hour before or 30 minutes before we start communicating, and give me a consensus of who the absolute most foul person of the past 7 days has been, and then we can turn that into a thing. Because if it's just Matt and I doing this, then you know what to expect, because we harangue on the same people every week pretty much.
Yeah.
So next week is not the holiday, right? Well, it is.
Well, the holiday is the next day.
Yeah, that's Christmas
24th.
Eve. What are you going to be around, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'll be around. I can do an episode if you want.
Yeah, I can do it too. I got an extended weekend, so I'm off Sunday through Wednesday, possibly Thursday next week. And sure, Christmas Eve. Sounds like a date.
All right.
All right, man. Have a good week. I'll talk to you then.
All right.